truly fantastic video. This is looking down on the brain of a mouse that is awake. Its head is fixed in place under the microscope, and it's just sitting there thinking. And this is a mouse brain thinking. And it's really mind-boggling. You see all sorts of patterns of activity that are just sort of meandering around the brain. Sometimes you see symmetric activity up here. Sometimes you see things really light up in different parts of it. And this is the mouse brain thinking, okay? And we injected it with saline as a control, just with a salt solution. And this leads us to where we wanted to get the whole time. We now have a technique to look down on as much of the brain as we could see. We see that the signals make sense. What happens when we inject this mouse with ketamine? Most of the time I would see something like this. When you give ketamine, you see something like this, which is completely bizarre. Now, what I'll say, it's worth noting that these outlines are the regional outlines, and they were aligned based on the anatomy of the skull, not based on the activity. So when we saw that this region here is flashing on and off in perfect alignment with the anatomy, it's just really, really, really weird. And was worth further investigation. So the first thing we want to do is just to describe this in a little bit more detail, let you see what's going on. So here's what a single period of the oscillation looks like. You can very clearly see it turns on, turns off, and comes back on, and the period is about 1 to 2 hertz, so 1 to 2 oscillations per second. But in case it's not clear, retrospinal cortex is doing something particularly out of the ordinary here, especially compared with the other brain regions. And if we quantify it, you can see what I mean. So here on the top row, we have the blue trace represents activity before we inject ketamine, the red trace represents after. All these regions look roughly the same, maybe a little different, and retrospinal cortex is off doing this completely bizarre thing on its own. This oscillation that's completely uncoupled from everything else. And you can quantify this using other signal processing techniques to show this increased power in this 1 to 2 hertz oscillation range. And you may ask, was this a one-off? Is this just one special mouse that we saw? We can show this across mice, and you see this enormous effect size that is very significant. This is a super consistent phenomenon. This phenomenon is so consistent that if you come to the lab, I can put a mouse on, inject it with ketamine, and you can see it by eye.
What is